so generally, when we enter the world of manifestation, we want to understand that everything is energy, okay? And when we get to this quantum level, that everything is energy, including money, including anything, we can start to work with the principles of the universe of attraction and magnetization. So when we look at quantum physics is a kind of a newer field, and I won't go too much into the science, but when we look at anything like this, my body, anybody here, even if it appears, I mean, obviously we're things, but if you look at it with a microscope that's strong enough, all you're gonna see is atoms, and then zooming in, is just subatomic particles, which is basically just energy. So everything, even dollar bills or dirham bills, or I'm still adjusting, it's all energy. And so the world of manifestation, this has to be our number one core understanding. Okay? Understanding our thoughts, the words that we say also bring out energy. Okay? So when we look at money specifically, money is the energy of value. So this is one core thing to understand. So whenever, in older times, we used to use, before money, we used to use gold and silver, and we would exchange, buy our crops, exchange for that, or our animals, exchange for this and that. And then we created money. But the concept of it was always this thing of value. I'm exchanging this for that. And now we do employment, right? So instead of before we used to be like farmers and things, now we go to work, we offer service, and we get paid. So one of the biggest things to know about increasing our money goals is to know that it really comes from this place of our perception of our value. The more that we perceive our value, the more, and this is something we can change, we can always increase it. And this is the beautiful thing about working with money and energy, is the higher perception we have of our value, the more we attract opportunities. Whether it's a promotion, whether it's a different job, a higher paying job. If we do business, maybe it's more clients or just different ideas, right? Different things that bring us up. It's our value. So, and obviously we're all very, very valuable human beings. It's not like some people are more valuable. What it is what you think of your value, right? And so people have different perceptions. Some people, maybe they perceive themselves with higher value. Again, sometimes the way that we're raised affects us too, things we heard when we were kids. But we can always increase it. And that's the beautiful thing about working with money and manifestation. So everything is energy, and the energy of money is about value, our perceived value. So we want to increase our income, we want to look at our value. Okay? Now in the journey to manifesting money, we have to understand there's also what we call like money blocks or money wounds. It's basically any kind of like negative attitude towards a thing, right? Any negative perception. And these really affect us subconsciously from being able to attract that higher income, because then we associate them with this thing as bad. And so subconscious mind works like a child. It's not logical, it's yes or no. So if it's bad, it's just no. So what happens is if we have a lot of these money blocks, as we go into more opportunities, we might close ourselves off, or we might feel like I can't believe that for me. Maybe other people, but for me, some kinds of things that are money blocks, right? Money wounds. So there's some common ones that I will go over, and it's good to go over them and to know like what might be a money block that I have, right? So one of the first ones is, and we hear this a lot in society, subconsciously, is that rich people are bad or greedy or scummy. You see this all over TV and movies too. You see this, it's just a very subconscious message. Sometimes it's not, sometimes it's said out loud, You see this in the news, we're always portraying things like people with the money doing the bad things and people who are without money doing good things. Subconscious mind says, money bad, no money good. So even if you want more money and more money is good, it helps you do more things, your subconscious will kind of close you off, will reject it, right? I don't know if you ladies watch Friends, but I was just watching it yesterday, and there's an episode with Phoebe, and do you guys watch Friends?
Yeah.
So there's one episode where Phoebe was like a stockbroker. She was working stock, and she was exchanging like multi-million-dollar things or whatever, and she was really angry and mean and like rude, and it was just really, really crazy. And then she has heart attacks and all these health problems, and then she wakes up in the hospital, she loses her job, and she finally accepts, okay, I lost this job and there's no going back. She becomes that singer at the coffee shop. and she's like so light and fairy, and I'm poor, but I don't make any, like in the energy of what she's saying is like, I'm not really making money, but I found happiness and whatever. And so even like just messages like that, since we're young, watching them in movies, it puts that in our mind, right? And it doesn't have to be true. One thing to know is money actually is neutral. It doesn't make you good or bad. Money is just, you can think of it like an amplifier, right? So it amplifies more of who you are. So if you have a fire, a match, a lighter, you can use that lighter to make a fire and cook a meal, right? Or do something. You can use that fire to burn something, to burn a house. It's just a tool, right? So it's not money that makes people good or bad, despite what we've been taught. It just brings out more of who you are. So that's money block number one. Along the lines of that is like money makes you a bad person. Again, it's just a thing, right? It just brings out more of who you are. If you're a good, generous person, you do wonderful things with the money, right? You buy things for your family, you contribute to charity. Another money block is like lack of belief. Like maybe other people can do it, but for me, as much as I try, I just don't feel like I can do it, right? That belief factor. And this can really block us off. It can really, really close off our energy. And so we have to understand, this goes back to what I was saying in the beginning about money being the concept of value. So the more that we increase our internal self-value, the more that we speak good things to ourselves, the more that we honor ourselves, right? Work with our confidence, our self-esteem, the more that we can work to believe these things, okay? There's something that we work with in the world of energy, which is called emotional freedom technique. I don't know if any of you have heard of it before, but it's like tapping. So you work with the acupuncture points in Chinese medicine, and when you have a really deep-rooted belief that you want to change in your subconscious mind, you do this tapping. So if this is a really strong thing for you, like I just don't believe that I can do it. I've tried and I failed and it's just not working, whatever. You can work with that. And you can find this on YouTube, right? So you tap as you say the belief, and it really clears it from your body. And that will help you a lot if it's something you want to work with. Another common money block that we have is more money, more problems. Again, this is something we see in society. There's like famous songs about this. Subconsciously, our mind will say, okay, I want that higher income, but if I go for that job, I'm gonna have less time with my family. I'm gonna have to deal with more things. I'm gonna have, like all these concepts of more money is gonna give me more issues. It's not gonna solve. And we have to understand what we believe is actually what we will bring, right? So if we believe this, then even if we do it, we will attract that thing that causes that more problems or that whatever. If we want to change that belief, again, through something like EFT or just consciously telling ourselves, then we can attract more money without having that concept of more problems. And if you think about it, money solves more problems than it creates, right? Like when you have more money, there's a lot of things you can solve when you have more money. You can hire people for services. You can do things that when you maybe have less money, it becomes harder to do. So in some ways, money can actually solve more problems, but we don't hear about the positive aspects of money. We tend to hear about the negative things about money. And again, this makes blocks in our mind. And I have to wonder, like, why in society do we have so many things that we say that are negative about money? Like, who does that benefit? It doesn't benefit us, right? So it's really important to redo this work and rewire. Another common one is you have to work hard for money. This one was a big one for me, and it almost feels guilty to say, I want to do a different belief. I want to make a different reality. I work for money, but I don't want to work so hard and climbing up the mountain all the time. And I work as a service and I get money. Simple. In society today, we see people who post one video on TikTok and they'll get hundreds of dollars or millions of. You see so much of it. Doesn't have to be that way. It can be easy to make money. There's so many ways to make money, but it's just really the belief that we have. If we have that belief, we were raised with that belief, or that's what we saw when we were younger, then that's what we'll attract. Is like you always have to work hard, and you'll be being paid just as much as somebody else who maybe doesn't have that belief and maybe doesn't work as hard as you, but they're making the same amount. So it's really our belief. There's a whole field about this called neuro-linguistic programming. It's a science, and it basically explains how the mind sees like a million things. It senses a million things around us all day, but it only brings into the field because it doesn't want to make us go crazy if we see everything all the time. It only brings into our awareness what is already similar to inside, what feels comfortable for us. So if we have this belief, for example, any of these beliefs, that's all that we're going to see. So it just reinforces, that's all that it will filter in, right? And that's all that we'll attract. That's all that we'll bring because that's all that we're seeing. Whereas if we create new beliefs, and that's why neuro-linguistic programming is so beautiful, because when you create new beliefs, now the mind will only allow those things in. For example, money comes to me easily. I don't have to work hard, or being sorry?
I'm a money magnet.
I'm a money magnet. Yeah, it just comes to me. Yeah, exactly. That's good. The last couple here are, this choice, right? Another money block is like love or money. You can't have both. You can be married or whatever, and have all this money, but you'll be busy, or you won't be happy, right? Love or money, or health or money. We see this a lot, stereotype in, on TV, and sometimes people manifest this in their lives too. Of like, they'll work so hard that they don't have good health, and so it's like, is it worth it? You start to think, well, it's not worth it, right? But again, these are all beliefs. Now, that person who's working so hard they don't have time for their health probably has a belief that I have to work so hard for money, health or money, I choose money, so that's what they're creating. It happens, right? But we don't have to create that. We can create new beliefs. When I think of something like love or money, right? You can think of it like, why can't I have both? Like, how good would it feel if I just created a belief where I can have both? If you look at the human body, it's like saying, a hand or a leg. It's like, I need both. It's not greedy. Like, this is what I need for survival, So it's okay to ask for both, right? It's okay to say I want health and money and love, and I deserve these things. And the last one that I'll talk about, and of course there's many more, but these are kind of the common ones, is the broke healer. So a lot of us have this concept of, if you work for the benefit of people, if you are a healer in some way, or you're a helper of some way, that you shouldn't accept money for that. And this, unfortunately, reinforces the idea of you're either spiritual, or you're either like a good person, or you're rich. You can't be both. And it's simply not true. Even if you look back at like older times where healers, or like the priests and the people of the churches and the mosques and everybody, they typically, even if they weren't getting paid money, they typically were given like accommodation, they were given food by all the villagers, they were given everything that they need, and they offered their services in exchange. So there's always an exchange, and that's part of value, that's part of service, right? It's how we keep the energy moving. In fact, it's bad to say, I should just always do things for free, because then you're not keeping it moving. You're just giving, and then it's making a block. You have to give and receive, and then things keep moving. When it's just one way, then it really depletes the energy, and you don't give wholeheartedly. Eventually, you get like overwhelmed, you get exhausted, and you're not giving what the person deserves, right? So it's always good to keep everything in the universe in balance. So those are some money blocks. I'll give you a minute if you want to journal on your own. Like, maybe you identify with some of these. Maybe maybe you have your own that you heard when you were younger, or things that, as I'm talking, kind of came up. So I'll give you just a minute. Maybe write down some things. It's so common, It's like what we see around us, what we hear, and then we wonder why do a lot of people in society have like money issues, right? It's because this is what we're kind of raised with when we're young, just from TV. It's how we speak. It's like common dialect. It's wrong to say I respect money and I like money and I want to make money. It's like almost wrong to say that,
Yeah,
and then so of course, you're a bad person, you're greedy or whatever, and it's just another thing you need to survive. It's just a tool, right? You think of water, you think of oxygen. We don't have these negative associations with the other resources.
Mm-hmm.
This one thing we do, and so it's really,
money.
I call it money healing, because it's like we got a lot of healing to do with this thing.